Every dollar you earn has a purpose, and until you tell it where to go, it's going to wander off and disappear. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a management problem. They work hard, they bring home a paycheck, and then they wonder where it all went by the end of the month. That's what happens when your money doesn't have a plan. Budgeting daily means sitting down, even for just a few minutes, and assigning a job to every single dollar. Not just in general terms like bills or savings, but in specific categories that reflect your actual life and goals. When you assign your money a job, you're not limiting yourself, you're leading yourself. You're saying, this dollar goes to groceries, this one goes to rent, this one goes to paying off that credit card. You're putting yourself back in the driver's seat. And when you do this consistently, something powerful starts to happen. Your money starts to obey you. You stop reacting to your finances and start directing them. That's a complete shift in mindset. It's no longer about surviving until the next payday. It's about thriving with the resources you already have. This mindset is what separates people who build wealth from those who stay stuck. Wealthy people don't stumble into success. They plan for it. They budget. They track. They make every dollar count. And they understand that money is a tool, not a toy. When you treat it like a tool, you can build something that lasts. When you treat it like a toy, you're just playing games. And games don't build legacies. The truth is, if you don't give your money a job, someone else will. Credit card companies will. Car dealers will. That impulsive Amazon order will. The world is designed to separate you from your money, and unless you've got a plan, it'll succeed every single time. Budgeting daily creates a layer of awareness that protects you from those traps. It helps you see what's coming before it hits you. It gives you the power to say yes to the things that matter and no to the things that don't. You don't need a finance degree. You don't need fancy software. You need a pen, a piece of paper, and the will to tell your money what to do. That simple daily habit creates clarity, control, and ultimately, confidence. And when you've got confidence in your money plan, you stop living in fear. You stop worrying about overdrafts, surprise bills, or what'll happen if your car breaks down. Because you've already given every dollar a job, and that job is to serve you. Wealth isn't built overnight. It's built one small, consistent choice at a time. That's the power of daily budgeting. Most people think big breakthroughs are what change their lives, but it's really the daily, almost boring habits that create transformation. Budgeting every day doesn't feel exciting in the moment. It might even feel repetitive. But over time, it creates a pattern of discipline, control, and intentional living that compounds into long-term financial peace. When you sit down each day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and review your spending, update your budget, or adjust your goals, you're training your mind to stay engaged. You're reminding yourself that you're in charge. You're making your money behavior a habit instead of a reaction, and that's where the magic happens, because once budgeting becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or going to the gym, it stops being a task and starts becoming part of your identity. You become a person who manages money well. You become a person who builds wealth on purpose. Consistency always beats intensity. Anyone can budget once a month, get inspired, and then forget about it until the next crisis hits. That's what the average person does, but you're not average. If you want results most people never get, you have to do things most people won't do, and most people won't check in on their budget daily. They think it's too much work, but in reality, it saves them hours of stress and hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars over time. Think about it like working out. You don't get strong from one trip to the gym. It's the repetition, the daily grind, the discipline that builds strength. Budgeting works the same way. Every day you show up, you reinforce the habit. Every day you stick to your plan, you build momentum. Every time you catch a small expense before it snowballs into a big problem, you're making progress. You're stacking tiny wins, and those wins add up. Small, daily budgeting also helps you spot patterns that monthly check-ins miss. You notice when your spending starts to creep, when a subscription renews without you realizing, or when eating out becomes more of a habit than a treat. That awareness lets you adjust quickly, not after the damage is done. It's like having an early warning system for your finances. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you're in the habit of budgeting daily. You start thinking long-term even while dealing with short-term expenses. You start asking better questions. Do I really need this? How does this purchase fit into my bigger goals? You begin to connect your daily actions with your future outcomes. That kind of mindset leads to lasting change because it's not driven by fear or guilt. It's driven by purpose and vision. Small steps taken daily don't just move you forward. They build the road to where you want to go. That's how wealth is built, slowly, quietly, and with relentless consistency. Most people struggle with money not because they don't earn enough, but because they lack clarity. Chaos thrives in confusion, and when you don't know where your money is going, you'll constantly feel like you're behind, stressed, or out of control. Budgeting daily cuts through that chaos like a spotlight. It gives you a clear picture of what's coming in, what's going out, and where every dollar is being used. That level of awareness changes everything. You stop making emotional decisions and start making informed ones. You begin to lead your money instead of letting it lead you. Clarity in your finances is like GPS on a road trip. Without it, you're guessing, hoping, and usually making wrong turns. With it, you know exactly where you are and where you're headed. When you budget daily, you're constantly recalibrating. Maybe you overspent yesterday. Fine, adjust today. Maybe you had an unexpected bill pop up. Okay. Shift some money from entertainment or dining. That's real time control. You're no longer flying blind. You've got a dashboard, and that dashboard gives you confidence. When you're clear about your money, you also become clear about your priorities. A daily budget forces you to ask, is this really important? It makes you face the truth of what you value versus what you say you value. If your money is going to things that don't align with your goals, that misalignment becomes obvious, and once you see it, you can fix it. That clarity creates intentional living, not just financial order. Clarity also reduces anxiety. Financial stress often comes from uncertainty. It's not always the amount in your bank account, it's the fear of the unknown, the what-ifs. Daily budgeting replaces fear with facts. You know what's available, you know what's due, you know what you can afford and what needs to wait. That knowledge gives you peace. You're no longer waiting for the next overdraft, the next declined card, the next surprise. You've taken the surprises out of the equation because you've taken control of the numbers. When your money is clear, your goals become reachable. You can see how much you need to save, how long it'll take to pay off debt, and what adjustments you need to hit those targets. That kind of precision turns dreams into plans. You stop saying someday and start saying by this date. That's the difference between wishing for financial freedom and actually achieving it. The truth is, clarity doesn't come from thinking about money once a month. It comes from staying connected every single day. That habit builds awareness, and awareness builds action. And when you act with clarity, you stop spinning in circles and start moving forward. Clarity creates a sense of calm. It creates focus. It eliminates waste. And when you eliminate waste, you maximize every dollar. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. In the world of personal finance, daily budgeting is one of the purest forms of discipline you can practice. It's not flashy, it doesn't give you instant gratification, but what it does give you is freedom. Long-term, sustainable freedom that most people only dream about. That freedom doesn't show up by accident. It's earned through consistent daily choices to live on less than you make, track where your money goes, and say no to what doesn't fit your plan. When you budget every day, you're not just managing money, you're building habits that shape your future. You're training yourself to delay gratification, to prioritize wisely, and to live intentionally. Discipline in your finances spills over into every other part of your life. It teaches you self-control, accountability, and responsibility. It helps you build confidence because you're proving to yourself, day by day, that you can stick to your plan, honor your goals, and control your impulses. Most people associate discipline with restriction, but real discipline is actually what creates freedom. When you live without a budget, you're not free. You're bound to stress, bound to debt, and bound to uncertainty. But when you take charge of your money daily, you unlock choices, you can save, you can invest. You can give generously, you can enjoy guilt, free spending because you planned for it. That's real freedom. Knowing your money is serving your goals, not sabotaging them. Discipline today also means fewer regrets tomorrow. The impulse buy you skip, the dinner out you replace with a home cooked meal, the $20 you transfer to savings instead of spending on something you won't remember a week later. That's the kind of discipline that adds up over time. It's not always fun. Sometimes it feels like you're not making much progress, but over months and years it compounds. You look back and realize those small sacrifices created margin, stability, and wealth. And most importantly, they created options that people who avoided discipline simply don't have. The most successful people with money aren't the ones who make the most. They're the ones who control what they have. That control comes from doing the hard, boring, disciplined things day after day. Daily budgeting may not feel exciting, but it's one of the most powerful habits you can develop. It keeps you focused, it keeps you accountable, and it keeps you moving forward even when motivation wears off. Discipline doesn't just change your finances, it changes your identity. It turns you into someone who's proactive instead of reactive, someone who plans instead of panics, someone who builds wealth instead of wondering where it went. Every time you show up for your budget, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. You're choosing to live on purpose, not by accident. You're choosing freedom over chaos. Debt is the enemy of wealth. It's a thief that steals your income, your peace of mind, and your future options. Every time you take on debt, you're giving away control of your money. You're locking yourself into payments, obligations, and stress that could have been avoided. That's why daily budgeting is so powerful. It gives you the tools and awareness to avoid debt like the plague. When you're budgeting every day, you know exactly what you can afford and what you can't. You're not guessing, you're not swiping blindly, you're making decisions based on a plan, not on pressure. Most people fall into debt because they're reacting to life instead of preparing for it. An emergency pops up and they don't have savings. A bill is higher than expected and they put it on a card. They want something now, and instead of waiting, they finance it. That cycle continues, and before long, they're drowning in monthly payments with no end in sight. But that doesn't have to be your story. Budgeting daily puts a spotlight on your finances. It shows you where to cut back, where to save more, and how to live below your means, so you don't need to rely on debt in the first place. Avoiding debt isn't about depriving yourself, it's about empowering yourself. When you don't owe anybody, your money is yours. You get to decide what to do with it. You're not sending it out every month to cover last year's purchases or pay interest on something you no longer even use. You're investing it, saving it, giving it, or spending it on things that truly matter. That's financial freedom, and it starts with saying no to debt and yes to daily discipline. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans. These things are marketed as tools to help you live better. But the truth is, they're tools for banks and lenders to make money off of you. Every interest payment is money you could have kept. Every loan you take delays your ability to build wealth. Daily budgeting helps you stay grounded and focused so you don't fall for the lies. You know what's in your account, you know what you've planned, and you have the strength to wait, save, and pay in cash because you've been tracking your progress day by day. It's not easy. The world around you is built on buy now, pay later thinking. But when you step out of that mindset and into a debt-free mentality, everything changes. You start to build margin. You start to build confidence. You start to experience what it feels like to own your stuff instead of your stuff owning you. And it all starts with a simple daily habit. looking at your budget, staying connected to your goals, and refusing to borrow your way into the future. Debt may seem like a shortcut, but it's really a detour that costs you more in the long run. Daily budgeting keeps you on track, focused, and free from financial traps. When you avoid debt, you keep your income, and that's the fuel for building real, lasting wealth. Every financial decision you make is a brick in the foundation of your future. The small choices you make with money each day, how much you spend, save, give, or waste, shape the direction of your life. Long-term wealth isn't the result of one big win or a lucky break. It's the outcome of thousands of tiny, intentional decisions made consistently over time. When you embrace that mindset, daily budgeting becomes more than a task. It becomes a powerful tool to shape your legacy, one choice at a time. Too many people believe they'll start building wealth someday, when they get a raise, when the debt is gone, or when life slows down. But the truth is, wealth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It grows when you start making better choices today, even if they're small. Choosing to skip that $7 coffee, deciding to cook at home instead of eating out, saving $20 instead of spending it impulsively. These aren't just small acts of discipline. They're foundational steps toward financial independence. Each choice builds on the last, creating momentum. Daily budgeting helps you stay connected to those choices. It keeps your goals front and center. It forces you to think before you act, to prioritize what matters most, and to say no to what doesn't align with your vision. When you do this every day, you start living on purpose instead of drifting through financial decisions. You stop asking, "Can I afford this right now?" and start asking, "Is this the best choice for my future?" That shift in thinking is what separates people who thrive financially from those who stay stuck. You don't need to make 6 figures to start building wealth. You need to make better decisions with the money you already have. Daily budgeting gives you clarity and accountability, which leads to smarter choices. It lets you see the bigger picture while managing the small details. You begin to connect the dots between today's habits and tomorrow's outcome. You realize that every dollar has power, and how you direct that power determines the life you build. Wealthy people don't build their fortunes on impulse. They build them on patterns. They budget, they plan, they save, and they invest with intention. And they start by making wise choices with every paycheck, every purchase, every moment. Daily budgeting puts you in that same mindset. It gives you control over the micro decisions that eventually create massive results. Even when it feels slow, even when the numbers don't change overnight, every good financial decision you make is pushing you forward. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. One choice at a time, you're changing your habits. You're shifting your mindset. You're moving from scarcity to abundance, from stress to stability. And most importantly, you're proving to yourself that you have what it takes to build wealth, not because of one big moment, but because you showed up every day and made the right choices, one at a time,